I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped onto the train. It was a dark, foggy night, and I was the only passenger at the station. The air was thick with mist, and the dim lights flickered as if they were about to go out. The train arrived without a sound, gliding in as if it floated on air. Its metal body gleamed under the cold moonlight, and the windows were dark, blacker than pitch. I hesitated, but the doors slid open with a soft hiss, like a serpent breathing in the dark. I took a step forward, my ticket clenched in my hand. It was a one-way ticket, given to me by an old man with hollow eyes. "This will get you where you need to go," he'd said, his voice a raspy whisper. I hadn't questioned it then. I just wanted to leave. But now, standing before the gaping maw of the train, I felt a chill run down my spine. Something in me screamed to turn back, to run away, but my feet moved forward on their own. The interior was dimly lit, with old-fashioned wooden benches lining the walls. I took a seat near the window, the fog outside too thick to see anything. I glanced around. I was the only one there. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the distant sound of a whistle. The train jerked forward, slowly picking up speed. I watched the station disappear into the mist, swallowed whole by the night. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. I couldn't tell. The train seemed to glide through an endless tunnel of darkness. I felt uneasy, my heart beating faster with each passing moment. The air grew colder and I could see my breath misting in front of me. That's when I heard it, a faint whisper, so soft I thought I might have imagined it. Then I heard it again, a raspy, breathy sound, like someone exhaling a final breath. I turned my head, my heart hammering in my chest. There was no one there, just the empty rows of seats. The whisper grew louder, echoing through the train car. I strained to listen, trying to make out the words, but they were garbled, distorted, like a recording played backward. I stood up, glancing around nervously. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling. No answer, just that whispering, growing louder, surrounding me. I felt something brush against my arm, cold and clammy, like a dead fish. I jerked back, my breath catching in my throat. There was nothing there, but the whispering had stopped. Then a soft, wet sound came from the seat behind me. I turned around slowly, dread clawing at my insides. A figure sat there, hunched over, its back to me. It was dressed in a dark, tattered coat, its hair long and matted. I hadn't seen anyone when I got on, and I was sure the car had been empty. My voice caught in my throat, but I forced myself to speak. "Excuse me, are you okay?" The figure didn't respond. It sat still, its shoulders rising and falling with slow, laboured breaths. I took a cautious step closer, and the smell hit me. Rotten, putrid, like meat left out in the sun for days. I gagged, covering my mouth and nose. The figure began to move, its head tilting upward. I could hear a creaking sound, like old wood bending under pressure. I stopped, my heart pounding in my ears. The head turned slowly, far too slowly, as if the bones were grinding against each other. When I finally saw its face, I stumbled back with a scream. Its eyes were hollow pits, black and bottomless, and its mouth was stretched into a grotesque grin that seemed to cut deep into its cheeks. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, with veins snaking beneath the surface. It opened its mouth wider, impossibly wide, and a thick, dark liquid dripped out, splattering onto the floor. The whispering returned, louder now, almost a chant. My legs were frozen. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. The figure's grin grew wider still, the skin tearing at the corners of its mouth, revealing a set of jagged, broken teeth. I finally found my voice and turned to run, but the door at the end of the car was gone. Just a solid wall where it had been. I spun around in a panic. The figure was gone. replaced by another, sitting in the corner, its eyes fixed on me, the same dark hollow pits. More figures began to appear, filling the seats, their faces all twisted into the same horrific grin. I backed away, my heart racing, but the car seemed to stretch on forever. The figures rose from their seats, their bodies creaking and cracking with every movement. I could hear their breath, shallow and ragged, like they were struggling to stay alive. They moved toward me, slowly at first, then faster, their grins growing wider, their eyes darker. I turned and ran, my footsteps echoing in the hollow metal car. The walls seemed to close in on me, the air thickening, growing colder. I could feel their breath on my neck, hear their whispers in my ears. I reached the end of the car and slammed into the wall, my fingers scrabbling against the cold metal. I turned around and they were there, surrounding me, their mouths opening wide, wider than humanly possible, dark liquid pouring out, pooling around my feet. The chanting grew louder, a cacophony of voices, all distorted, all wrong. My head spun, and I felt myself slipping, falling. The last thing I saw was the ticket in my hand, the words burning bright in the darkness. It read, "One-way ticket to hell." And then the darkness consumed me, never again to see the light of day.